Hello everyone, how's it going? Now, I know what you're thinking. Who is this guy? I just want to play Sword and Shield. No you don't. You actually want to know how you are supposed to play as Geodude in Dark Souls 3. Well, allow me to show you. You are welcome for that image. Allow it to haunt your nightmares for the next couple days. Now, let's go over some basics and rules that I set up for this quote challenge, I guess you would call it. Rule 1. Attempt to make your character resemble the Pokemon in question. I am sorry, I really did try my best. It's not easy making a Pokemon in Dark Souls. Rule 2. You are only allowed to use moves / abilities / skills that would translate to a move that the Pokemon could learn. For example, you could punch with the bare fist, as that could be tackle. Rule 3. Just like any Pokemon, you are not allowed to have no more than 4 moves at one time. And rule number 4. This isn't meant to be taken too seriously, it's just a fun idea that I came up with, and I hope you will enjoy it. I also would like to clarify real quick that this video will not be showing how to beat Dark Souls 3, but rather just how to play as. Maybe at some point I will try beating the entire game like this, but it might take some convincing. Anyways, back to the Pokemans. So right in the beginning we are actually going to start off as Pyromancer, as this is very important because this is going to be one of the first moves that we learn, which would be Fire Punch. This Fire Punch is simply just the Pyro R2, but for the first 2 bosses it is going to be our main source of damage. We do also have Tackle right away, but without any Cestus, the only use it will have for now is parrying. But anyways, let's get started. So right away I'm throwing away anything that I do not need. This is simply to just validate the run, and we are actually going to be grabbing the Ashen Estus. I've never had a real use for it up until this point. There's not much to show in the beginning. Getting to Gundyr is very easy to do. The only interesting part is the fight, so let's just cut to the chase. Alright, so here we are at Gundyr. I start off with some Pyro R2s before he wakes up, and then I start fishing for parries. Getting parries is going to help out quite a bit, as it will be my main source of damage for this fight. But sadly, I ended up missing a parry and I died. For round 2 here with Gundyr, it starts off with a great parry, followed by just more and more parries. I just want it to be known that I have never practiced parrying in Dark Souls 3 before. I was just getting pretty lucky, I guess. I also want to point out how amazing it feels to get this many parries off in a row. There is no greater feeling in the world. On round 2, we actually end up getting to a second phase. For those that may not know, second phase Gundyr is the easiest boss fight in the world. All of his attacks are very slow and very scripted. There isn't much to talk about here. It was a pretty clean sweep. With Gundyr out of the way, we are now able to embed the sword, unlocking us the main hub of Dark Souls 3. And now we can move on to the next area. Before that, however, I am going to allot my Estus and buy some items to help me on my journey. I also wanted to see if I could take out the Swordmaster, but let's just say it did not end very well. Let's just forget that any of that ever happened. So moving on to High Wall of Lothric. Not much to see here. The enemies in this area are very easy to avoid, and there are no items here that will benefit Geodude. There is one scary part in this area. It is right before opening up the shortcut. There is a bunch of big scary enemies trying to kill you, but luckily I managed to do it on my first try. So now let's head over to the part that you all want to see, the boss. So Wort is one of the bosses that you encounter here at Lothric. He isn't that bad if you have a weapon, but all I have is a fiery fist and a hopeful heart. Though a lot of Wort's attacks are pretty easy to dodge, some of his attacks have wonky hitboxes, so our goal is to try to stay behind him, as it is the safest place to be for this fight. First phase is fairly easy. He's very slow in the first one. The second phase is a little scarier. He begins using charging attacks and becomes faster. Now unfortunately on my first try I did end up dying while I was trying to heal. I was really hoping he wouldn't do the fast attack, but he did. On to round 2. The beginning goes very smoothly. I only had to heal twice before second phase. So this attack right here is kind of the attack that you want to wait for. It is his slowest attack and you are able to get at least 7 free hits off. Round 2 is looking pretty good, but unfortunately I ran out of Estus and I end up dying because of a bad camera. On to round 3. On round 3 I managed to get to second phase without wasting a single Estus. Things are looking pretty great. Sadly though, within seconds I managed to lose all of my Estus and then die. On to round 4. Things are not looking good. I have failed 3 times now. The spirits are low. I don't know how I'm going to overcome this. Until I remember that this would make for a great video. And so I have to do it for the views. On round 4 I am filled with the power of YouTube ad revenue. Nothing can stop me. But then I remembered that my channel doesn't get monetized and so I died. But just kidding. That would have made for such a great joke though. I kinda wish I did that. But with Wort now out of the way, we are able to make our way over to the next area, Undead Settlement. For the Undead Settlement, we want to head down into the sewer, which is where we will learn one of Geodude's next moves, Tackle. I decided to have Cestus translate to an upgraded Tackle, per se. I felt that it was a good way to include an actual weapon into the build. We do need to kill the area boss at some point, but for now we can avoid it as we do not need it yet. Before we move on to the next area, I want to kill this Outrider Knight because I have a funny segment that I want to add. Alright, and with the sword, I am now ready to become every single person when they first play Dark Souls 3. Don't worry, I was part of that group. You know, after doing this challenge, you begin to realize just how easy it is to run past all of the enemies in Dark Souls 3. Like, it was not ever a problem for me at all. After some new armor and tackle upgrades, I decided to go back and defeat Curse-Rotted Greatwood. Now, the boss really isn't that bad as long as you have some range, but given that we have only a fist, it is going to be a bit of a struggle. The main gimmick of this boss is that you have to attack his sacks, as they will inflict the most damage when they explode. For Greatwood, you want to stay on his side as this will avoid many of his attacks. Even with the lack of range, the fight went extremely well and I managed to take out Greatwood on my first try, granting me the transposing kiln. This item has no use now, but it will in like 2 more bosses, trust me. Next up is Road to Sacrifices, but before we continue, I have a very special announcement. Alright, so much like every other area, we are going to be speedy quick boys and avoid every enemy, as there is nothing that we need here, other than the blood of the area boss, Crystal Sage. This was one boss fight that I was not excited for, as even on a normal playthrough, I am just really bad at it. We are going to be here for a while. Round 1 is going quite decent. I managed to get the boss past half health, and then I died. On to round 2. Round 2 starts the same way, not much to talk about as there is only one sage for the first half. Getting towards the halfway point again, I find the real sage and try my best to get some hits off, but I get stuck in a hit stun and die. On to round 3. I start to lose a bit of hope. I consider just dropping the challenge altogether. I really have no idea how I'm going to get past this boss. I'm just so bad at it. As I decide to keep going as I am already so far into the challenge, which brings us into round 4. Round 4 goes extremely well. I accidentally ran into an exploit which helped me greatly in the fight. So the way Crystal Sage works is they will use an attack and they will not go away until that attack is gone. Because the Cestus has such short range, you are able to stay hidden from the homing crystal soul mass. And since the spell is never able to complete, you are able to just abuse the Crystal Sage. And with round 4, I just barely managed to seal a victory. I get the exploit one more time, and with a sliver of health remaining, I take out the Crystal Sage. And with that, we are ready to head to the next area, Cathedral of the Deep. Not much to talk about here. Once you get past the annoying teleporting dogs, everything else is pretty straightforward. Can I just say real quick how much I hate these dogs? They make no sense at all. They always find a way to hit you, and they always catch up to you by teleporting. It's so ridiculous. Sorry about that. We're here to talk about Geodude, not dogs. At this point in time, there is another move that I can learn for Geodude, but I elect not to get it yet, as I felt it wouldn't help much with the next boss. Shh, that is not a lie. I definitely did not forget that I was fully capable of getting a new move. I feel kinda dumb for forgetting, as it would have made the boss much easier, but whatever. Let's just go fight the boss. So Deacons of the Deep is a widely hated boss, mainly due to it just being a mob boss. The boss fight is quite boring as all you do is attack whoever has the aura, or whatever it's called, inside of them, and that's it. This boss usually takes a few tries for beginners of the game, but in my case is going to be tough due to how much I am limiting myself. Because of my short range, closing in is going to be difficult and will greatly extend how long this fight is going to take. When I got to the second phase of the fight, I saw an attack that I've never seen before, only because of how long I was taking. In second phase, if you take too long, the Deacons use this scary attack that fills the room with darkness, and you slowly get cursed. After seeing this, I realized I would have to change my strategy to that of a more risky, but also faster one. On round 2, I opt to try and close in more, to try and deal more damage quickly. I managed to get the boss below half health, but there are just too many enemies and I unfortunately die from the curse again. I decided to make a quick stop to the old lady to buy some alluring skulls. This will keep most of the enemies distracted and will allow me to deal much more damage. For round 3, I opt to save all of my skulls for the second phase, as that is when the timing matters. And the skulls were working great, and none of the enemies were focused on me at all. The one thing that scared me was that they were still able to fill the room with darkness, so at that point I had to finish the fight as quickly as possible. And with that, we are now ready to head to the next area, Blighttown. I meant to say Fair Keep. My bad. Get it mixed up all the time. Now, Fair Keep is a really good area in the game. It's got Estus Shard, it's got Undead Bone Shard, and it even has one of the best moves in the game, which is actually the new move that Geodude will be learning. In Fair and Keep, you want to look for the random big ladder. This will take you up to the spooky stray demon. Now the great thing about this big boy is that he actually drops a boss soul for some reason. And the great thing about his boss soul is that we can actually turn it into Geodude's next move. In the game it's called Boulder Heave, but for Pokemon's sake I'm going to translate it into Rock Throw. And this actually concludes how to play as Geodude in Dark Souls 3. Before I go though, I want to kill the Abyss Watchers as a sort of bonus. Let's go. In the Souls series, I'd like to think that I'm pretty alright at the game, but there are just some bosses that I'm so bad at, with Abyss Watchers being one of them. But what better way to fight them than with a build that makes the fight much harder? Oh goodness, here we go. So in the beginning I try to go for Boulder Heave, as it will stun him every time, but he will not give me the time of day, so I never really get to use it. So much for that then, huh? Guess we will just have to stick with Tackle. I managed to get to the second phase, which is arguably easier to deal with, despite his lingering flame hitboxes. I managed to hit second phase about twice before I just get annihilated. I spent about an hour just going at this boss, attempt after attempt. Nothing seemed to be working. I contemplated just not having this segment, but I really wanted to do it, so I opted to keep going. Instead of commentating every attempt, I am going to instead just show a compilation of each time that I died. For my final attempt at this, I am using only Boulder Heave, because it deals the most damage, and I just want first phase to end as soon as possible. For second phase, I developed the safest strategy possible, keeping the spacing between us great and only attacking after he uses his most laggy move. You can tell just by watching that one move that just has so much end lag. This is the easiest way to make the fight consistent. This goes on for quite some time since I am only chipping away at his health bit by bit. And, with one last parry followed up with a charged R2, I am able to secure the victory. And with that, thank you guys so much for watching. This challenge was really fun to do, despite how angry I might have gotten throughout all of it. I currently have 3 more of these challenges set up to do, and each day I am thinking of more and more things to turn into a challenge. I will mention real quick that my next one is going to be playing Dark Souls 3 as Charmander, so I'll be looking forward to that. If you want to stay up to date with these videos, make sure you subscribe, so you can be notified when I upload more of these challenge videos. But anyways, that's going to be it for today, so bye-bye.